So we were humming and hawing this, and before David agreed to lend his expertise to our show this week, he asked a very loaded question. Mr. David Wayne Nystrom asks, "What is the most underrated and overrated Legend of Zelda title?" And I'm going to let you guys answer first, but I do want to give a little caveat here. I don't think that there is a such thing as an overrated Zelda game necessarily. There's kind of a diplomatic answer and a spicy answer here. So like the diplomatic answer, which I think is actually the correct answer, is like I think that all Legend of Zelda games are like either good or very good or excellent in their own regards. So like I don't think that one of them is overrated. Like the worst Zelda game is still a really good game. So I don't know that I would say like overrated in the sense of like this game has sold a million bajillion copies and like people say it's the best ever. I think that every game that has these accolades it probably deserves it. But I'll give you the spicy answer in a second here. But David, why don't you give us your opinion on this since you were the one who asked this dubious question?
Sure. So I'm in the same camp. I mean, I rate all Zelda games on a scale of 8 to 10. They're all great to me. So it's within to me when I asked it, I was thinking within the Zelda canon, what is the most overrated, most underrated? So my most underrated to me, and I've actually kind of alluded to it at least twice so far, is Zelda 2. I think there is so much good stuff in that game. It just gets bogged down because of its age and its gameplay style. And I think a lot of people overlook it because of that. And it's one of the things that's held me back from playing it multiple times. It's just because it's so different. It's such a different thing. But I think it's undeservedly crapped upon because of that.
Right.
And then my most overrated, and both I have two answers, and they're both hot takes. Breath of the Wild and Majora's Mask.
Oh,
And
ugh,
I know.
yikes.
They're again, all Zelda games 8 to 10. They're all great. They're all fantastic. I just I love both of those games. They're both in my top 15 easily of 21. So, but
That's
I think everybody saying that Breath of the Wild, that one specifically stands out in my mind because of the recency bias. Is I look at it compared to my top three, which are Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, and Link's Awakening, and I can't justify ever reaching those in my mind. Like, yes, it did some amazing stuff, and I love that game, and it's fantastic. And like I said, I've done all 900 Korok seeds. It's there. I've been there. I've spent hours in it. I can't justify any world where it comes above those to me, and that is why I think it's just overrated. It's because so many people do. They put it above those, and I can't do it. So,
All
hot
right.
take.
Well,
Thanks for having me on. I'll never be back, but
anybody still listening that didn't shut the show off after that, you can hear Allison's hot takes here. Allison, what do you think?
it's kind of hard to say. I feel like a lot of Zelda games are rated like exactly where they should be. Maybe I think pre-Switch release Link's Awakening and then Minish Cap are probably pretty underrated. I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talk about it until I came to Zelda Dungeon. So I would say those two. And then overrated Zelda title. I wouldn't say it's overrated. I just don't understand the hype and the animosity that I receive. I don't even want to think about Andy, but the animosity that I get when I say that I don't really care for Twilight Princess, and I sometimes get like attacked by people who get really upset when I say that. So I wouldn't say it's overrated. I think normal people think it's like exactly where it should be, but sometimes there's just a lot of love for that game that I don't understand.
Right. We were talking earlier about how a lot of people like got into the Zelda series with Ocarina of Time. I actually think that there are probably about as many people now, like now that the years have passed, that first got into Zelda with Twilight Princess, because that was like the big game for the Wii, and like for people that are 20, 21 years old, the Wii was probably their first console, and Twilight Princess would probably have been their first Zelda. So I I can at least understand that. Underrated, of course, Minish Cap. I think that that's the most underrated game in the series. I think it's one of the most underrated games, like, in general. And I don't know why. It's so good, and I think that it's like I think that it's a quality over quantity thing, because I think people see that it only has 5 dungeons, and they're just like, oh, that's not very much. Even though that the dungeons are, like, really awesome, I think that it just has a really great world. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about Minish Cap before, so I won't spend a lot of time there. Like I said, there's no overrated games necessarily, but just in terms of putting on a good show here, I'll give my spicy answer. And actually, we had a war about this last night in the Champions Cast Discord channel, and this might be blasphemous of me to say, but if I had to pick them, I think A Link to the Past is probably... It gets a lot of love.
You know what?
And
That's fair.
I don't get it. And I don't know if it's because I played Ocarina of Time first and then A Link to the Past, but it's an incredibly solid game. Like, the foundations are solid, but to me it's just like, I don't know, it's kind of bland. And anybody that didn't shut the show off after David's tirade definitely just shut the show off now. But it's just, I don't know, it has a ton of dungeons, but, like, do any of them really stick out? Like, to me, not really. No, they're just kind of short. They're you blitz through them really fast. There's not really any great puzzles. Like even in Link's Awakening, you have, like, the great puzzles of Eagle's Tower or Catfish's Maw, where, like, Link to the Past, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's very flat for me. Like, the whole game, it looks flat. People make fun of me all the time because color is such a big thing to me, but, like, it's kind of like a drab looking game. I feel like in a lot of areas, not in all areas, but in a lot of them, particularly when you get to the Dark World, and I can hear people being like, oh, it's the Dark World, of course. But, like, come on. I think that, I don't know, I think that all of the 2D games that came after it just improved upon it to such an extent that, to me, it's just like, I don't know. I don't get it. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. I still think that it's a great game. We have 0 listeners left here, guys, but let's keep going.